Did you have a Royale with cheese this week too?
I made a cheeseburger. I don't know if it was exactly a quarter pound.
I was just thinking about that as we just a little epilogue, I guess you would, from last week's episode where we just happened to both have a Royale with cheese the day we recorded an episode about Pulp Fiction. And I thought that was kind of cool. And I think I did have a Royale with cheese this week. I stopped there again one day. But they have an app. Well, everything has a fucking app nowadays. I mean, what doesn't have an app? You get an app and probably how to put your underwear on. And
app on apps.
And that fucking McDonald's app, man, it's like, oh, buy one get one for 29 cents. You're like, I don't need it, but it's only 29 cents. You're like,
exactly.
They fucking get you, man. Or 99-cent coffee, which is freaking awesome, but also like get you to spend money,
Oh yeah, you're like, man, I don't need an extra patty, but damn, it's 29 cents. Wow.
I mean, and if you've got kids, the McDonald's app, man, it's fantastic because it'll save you some money, man. I mean,
oh yeah,
that Chick-fil-A, they have an app too, and it's almost an essential when you're feeding minions and stuff. Important.
Yeah, you got to get the deals, man. Got to get the deals.
Yeah, so for anyone who did not know, yes, the McDonald's app will save you money. And if you're a coffee lover, almost every day there's a 99-cent coffee coupon on there for any size. You can get you a large fucking iced coffee or hot coffee, whatever you want, for $1. And if you've never had McDonald's coffee, it's actually pretty good. I mean, I kind of prefer it over Starbucks. Starbucks is shit, man. I don't know why people think that's such good fucking coffee.
Yeah.
It's cool to have every now and then, but ultimately it's shit, man. But, McDonald's is good coffee. So. But, just so I was thinking about that from last week's episode. It's a Royale with cheese. What would they call the Whopper? I don't know. I didn't go into Burger King.
I didn't go into Burger King.
And
I told some people at work about that too. I was like, hey, a Royale with cheese, baby. That's what you got to call it.
Such a great movie, man. Again, not my personal favorite Tarantino movie, but I respect it for what it is and how good it is. And a complete opposite of the movie we're doing today, which is today's movie is not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie. It's a fun movie, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But this is the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
Just the dynamic duo hanging out today. And just a note, because I know some people don't always make it to the end of the show. Next week's show may or may not happen. I'll just be openly honest. I'm in the process of moving. And so internet might be down next weekend if I'm in the process of moving. So we will preview next week's show like it's going to happen. But if it doesn't happen, we hope to be back in a couple of weeks, starting Halloween Horrors off. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there now. If there is a delay in our Halloween Horrors, I'm going to at least guarantee still 3 episodes that month, even if we have to do 2 in a week, because I know people enjoy that. I won't guarantee all 4 Halloween horror episodes just in case things happen, and I don't want to overextend our guarantee, but definitely get 3 at least in that month. But life has kind of happened full swing for me in the last couple of months, and so this move has to happen. So I got to get out of this house and into another one, and we will get the show going back as soon as we can. But it's still possible we still have a show next week, because even if I start moving next week, my internet might not be off yet, so we might still do the show Friday night. So we'll see. We'll just see how it goes between now and I should know a lot more by Monday or Tuesday by the time people get this episode in their ear holes. But just want people to know that if there is a break and you look on your apps and you're like, man, where's my latest episode of the fucking awesome Rebel Radio podcast? And it's not there, and that's why. So stay tuned to our social media for any updates on what happens in the next few weeks. But how are you doing, Matt? Doing good, man?
Doing good, man. If it doesn't happen, we should use one of our Patreon episodes as a special episode or something, I don't
want to frighten people.
I
did think about that. Maybe scheduling a Patreon episode and say, here, listen to this.
Sonja.
I mean, I'd have to go back and listen to those. Like, I think we gave out the Superman 4 one for free already. That one was pretty good. I felt like the Ninja Assassin was pretty good.
Yeah.
There were a couple of okay ones in there. Then there were some that were like a little rough, so.
Yeah, for sure.
The Patreon was an experiment that had its moments, just didn't quite work the way we wanted it to. And I don't know if we'd come back to it one day. I don't know. At this point, 300 and something episodes in, it's kind of hard to want to do extra episodes or ask people to pay for anything, So yeah, we'll just keep on trucking this way.
Yeah,
because we've got some good stuff coming up between now and the end of the year.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Movies I'm excited to talk about. Trekking towards episode 350, which continuing our trend. I think people know we did on the 100 episodes. We did the Star Wars films on the 150, 250, and 350. We've been covering Indiana Jones. I think people know The Last Crusade is coming up with episode 350. So, some good stuff coming up. And the crazy thing is, I was looking at, we might hit 350 really close to around when the new movie comes out. So that might work out pretty swell. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Good timing.
And,
which we usually strive to do.
That's right. And, but yeah, man, despite the craziness of my life, I'm doing good too, man. Work wasn't too bad this week. It was all right. Just been full swing ahead with my middle son's fall baseball season. And got our first game next Tuesday. So, that's going full swing ahead, and life finds a way. That's all there is.
That's right. As the great Jeff Goldblum would say.
That's right. Did you see that? I didn't put this in the news because I didn't, but even Jurassic World Dominion broke $1 billion box office globally. So that franchise continues to do well, man. People like them. And, like I said, I watched it and I didn't understand the hatred for it. Like, I understood the hatred for Fallen Kingdom. That was a weirdly paced, odd movie, but
yeah,
I genuinely enjoyed Dominion. Maybe it was a little long, and maybe it didn't quite give me the brawl at the end of it that I wanted. But overall, it was fine. I don't know what.
Yeah, you've got the investigation of Bio whatever the company. I forget the name of the company already, but I guess there's no engine, so they had to come up with another evil company.
Yeah,
for them to go against. But I like they're trying to investigate it and get to the bottom of it, and then you've got, of course, dinosaurs, and you've got Gigantosaurus, which I didn't even know was a real dinosaur. Turns out there's a real dinosaur.
I was thinking about like how if you wanted to do another one. And I think they've ran the franchise into the ground now, but like, would it be cool to do like 50 years after Dominion and the dinosaurs are pretty much ruling the planet? And it would be like Owen's son has to fight them or something, like the last, like do like a last city on Earth kind of thing, where Owen and Bryce Howard's son is like defending the last city on Earth against the dinosaurs. I mean, it's like, I think that would be kind of cool. That would be really.
Yeah, you can go that way.
The whole theme park Jurassic World thing has been overdone. So you got to do something really like just out there and crazy. And, how would we continue that? But I think that's a good segue into to download this where we tell people we watched, streamed, checked out this week. I guess I'll start. I watched a couple more episodes of Cobra Kai. It's getting there. I thought the whole like let Chosen infiltrate Cobra Kai was kind of a cool idea, but then it only lasts like one episode. Like, well, this is kind of stupid. But it was kind of cool to see Chosen kick ass with all those other senseis. He's like, then he threatened Silver, and I was like, oh yeah, threaten him, motherfucker. And but that's really, I think that's right where I stopped. So I only watched a couple episodes. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I watched a movie, but maybe I didn't. I did watch the first 2 episodes of Andor, the new Star Wars show.
I didn't realize it was this week. I thought it was next week.
I haven't watched all 3 yet. I watched the first 2. It's definitely different. It's slow compared to a lot of Star Wars adventure style storytelling, but it's gritty and it almost doesn't feel like Star Wars at times. But that said, it's very good. Very well written, very well acted. Diego Luna's fantastic. So far, so good. They're taking their time to set up the story. This is definitely a different Cassian than we saw in Rogue One. He's not sure of himself yet. He's still figuring out his way. So it's interesting to see this take on the character, and I like it so far. It's good. So, if you're looking for Star Wars and you were a little disappointed with Obi-Wan or Boba Fett, which I still don't understand because I really liked Obi-Wan, but I think you might like this if you're looking for something different in Star Wars. And it's very good. So I watched that, and then I have not watched the new episode of Lord of the Rings yet. Well, actually, there's 2 new episodes now I got to get caught up on, I guess, since it is Friday. And hopefully this weekend I'll get to those.
I got caught up on 4.
Yeah, I just didn't get to this weekend. But yeah, I think that's, man, I feel like I watched something else, but maybe I didn't. That's all I watched this week. God dang it, man. Oh, well, maybe it'll come to me. But man, definitely check out Andor. And it's good. It's good Star Wars. Good shit. What's crazy is 2 episodes in, haven't even seen a Stormtrooper yet. It's crazy. It's like, wow. That's what I'm saying when it's so different for Star Wars. But yet it's strangely familiar too, but yet it's different for the Star Wars world. So it's cool. It almost is closer in tone to, honestly, to the Solo movie. Kind of underground smuggler type Star Wars world, So I think it's kind of cool.
I always thought that was a cool aspect of the Solo movie.
I like the Solo movie. My only disappointment with the Solo movie, honestly, is that it was left wide open. We're probably never going to do the sequel. And I feel like Disney Plus would be primed to do a Solo series to continue on that story, but it doesn't look like they're interested in doing that right now.
Yeah.
But, that's probably my only disappointment with Solo movies. You introduce all those elements in the last 15 minutes, and then that's it. It's like, unfortunately, toxic fucking fan base had to fuck that up. That's just true. That's why. Toxic fan base.
Yeah, sometimes fans can be the worst, man. Their own worst enemy.
Yep. What did you check out this week, Matt?
I've been playing a little Destiny. There's been a couple new missions that have popped up, and so I've been playing on there, getting my character built back up, and that's been fun. I haven't played. I play kind of team co-op events a lot, where you kind of basically team up on one objective, and it's not PvP, and so I hadn't PvP'd in a while, and of course players move different than your AI bad guys, of course, in any game. That's anyone can that knows and understands. But my son was like, "Hey, you should go into the Crucible and do PvP," and I'm like, "All right, I'll test it out." I haven't done this in a year or so, and so man, I got my ass handed to me. And I got 1 kill. One kill. Everyone else had 10, 20.
Basically, you sucked.
I got 100? And it was like the Willy Wonka thing. You remember Willy Wonka? He's like, well, I ate 2. And they're like, oh, 200. Well, if you had, no, just 2. And they're like, 2? So I'm like, just 1. So... No, I don't know. Maybe I got to improve my PvP skills. But of course, I like to go back to movies that I love. Cheesy movies, and I watched Demolition Man again, just because I'm like, I want to see, Stallone and Sandra Bullock and all that, stuff, and I watched crap. What was that movie? I watched Kill Bill because I was like, I'll watch another Quentin Tarantino movie. And so I watched Kill Bill, and I tried to get my oldest to watch some of it. And but he was doing other stuff, so I couldn't get him to be engaged. Watch that. Of course, that's a great flick that we'll cover one day on here. And I watched. There was another movie that I can't. I saw that The Wrestler was on. Jackie hadn't seen The Wrestler. And I was like, I wonder if she'd like The Wrestler. And, The Whale had just come out. And I'm like, looking, and I'm like, this is kind of the same story, just based off of the synopsis of The Whale. So on The Wrestler, Mickey Rourke, he's this, wrestler that's kind of dying. And he's got this forgotten daughter, that he's kind of just not got in touch with over the last years. She kind of resents him for not being in her life, and so he tries to get involved back in her life. And in The Whale, it's Brendan Fraser, and he's I think he's a retired history teacher or something like that, and he's kind of been reclusive from his his offspring. I think it's a son or a daughter, and he's trying to reconnect with them. And I'm like, oh, this is like an ongoing theme in your movies, just switch to a different, one aging actor to another.
It's always been Aronofsky's films.
Yeah,
I'm only familiar with it too. Even in The Fountain, Hugh Jackman's trying to stay connected with his wife. I mean, you go back to Requiem for a Dream, and Jared Leto's character is trying to reconnect with himself and stay off drugs. I mean, it's all his movies are about.
The only thing anyone remembers from Requiem for a Dream, Mark, is ass to ass.
The whole movie is very disturbing.
One day. We'll cover it. Other than that, I did mention that I watched the fourth episode of Rings of Power, and I like the sword fighting in it. There's a cool sword fighting scene. I like that. I think I caught a scene from one of the episodes. I think it's going to be the fifth episode. I saw a clip of it, and they just made her like really OP Glandring or Gandriel. She like takes a bunch of guards and like shoves them into a cell like they're like 5-year-olds, and they're like huge guards. They're like body, they got armor on, and I'm like, that's the sword stuff. I believe, elves, they're, whether you're Legolas and you're just a badass with a bow, or you're her and you're just a badass with a sword, you can engage like 8 or 10 guys. But it's like, man, you figure, it'd be a little bit more to the fight scene than that. Like maybe she'd do some kind of elvish martial art or something, and like take out their ankle and stuff. But she's just like, get in there, I'm like, well, that's underwhelming. But so we'll see. I don't think there's a lot of stuff that you can really nitpick about it. I think it's a solid series so far. Surprisingly, I haven't watched a whole lot of Cobra Kai. I watched the first episode. I've been trying to watch it with the wife. That's the problem, trying to coordinate, and it just hasn't worked. So hopefully we can find a day soon where we can sit down and watch 2 or 3 episodes, and get more into that. But that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into this feature film today that it had been a while since I had seen this, and I remember watching as a kid and always just kind of thinking the sword fighting was cool. And I remember the scary like guys with the glowing eyes used to scare me when I was a kid. That freaked me out as a child.
Yeah,
I always remember the ferrets and all that. And what I don't remember is the first 30 minutes of this movie being so fucking weird and not making a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
The movie takes about a half hour before it kind of gets on its path, so to speak. But the movie we are talking about today is The Beastmaster, cult classic from 1982. Coming off the sword and sorcery genre at the time, which was pretty popular. Starring Marc Singer, relatively unknown, and Tanya Roberts, also relatively unknown, and Rip Torn, who was mostly a character actor. Well, was always a character actor in his career, and a very bizarre part. To summarize this movie,
it's essentially they learned that the Beastmaster is going to be born from the Queen, and he's going to kill Zed, which is Rip Torn's character. Yeah. So they're like, all right, well, we got to take him out of his mother's womb, put him in the womb of this fucking cow.
It's so weird.
And then you got to kill him. And then so the weird old-faced, young boob sorcerer, witches. They're going to she's going to kill him. But in this local Caesar, and he just throws this badass looking boomerang thing at her, and then ends up throwing her into the fire, and takes him and adopts him. Zed's men eventually, he's through the years, he's training with his father, learning how to fight, and learns that he can kind of have this connection with animals. And then Zed's men come to his village, and things start. The prophecy where, the son will kill Zed starts coming full circle. Zed's men kill his adopted father and take out his village. Those houses on stilts, which horrible idea, because now they're like, man, these fall over really, really easy when these guys are, bumping up against them, sabotaging our village. And then he's like, I'm going to go on a quest to avenge my father. I'm going to find these guys. And then he runs up on a hot chick, which he gets. This is where it gets fucking weird.
I know.
Right. She's bathing and he's like, oh,
he's peeping Tom on him.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to get my ferrets to steal her clothing. And then he gets the tiger, the tiger that they fucking spray painted to scare her. And he's like, oh, well, I've got you, don't worry.
Forcefully kisses her.
And then he, of course, can communicate with the tiger. So he yells at the tiger, and the black tiger walks off. And he's like, as payment, I will kiss you and then straddle you.
It's so weird.
He forgets about this quest for his avenging his father, and he follows the ass. He follows ass, and he get yeah.
Then the other chick that's in the water just sort of disappears from the movie.
Yeah, you don't see her really again.
And that's the thing. In the first 35 minutes of this movie, there's more titties in this movie than in a rated R film, and it's PG.
For real. But there's no nipple, so I guess. It doesn't count unless you see a nipple, I guess. So, yeah, it just gets away with the PG rating. So he eventually, finds some companions, and they find Rip Torn's character Zed, save a couple kids from being sacrificed, and yeah, man, that's.
And then there's this whole bizarre extended epilogue against this other horde of bad guys that are just there's basically a lot happens in this movie with very little explanation. Like the main character Dar, why does Dar not wear clothes except for his loincloth?
Yeah, it's
like, I guess just to show off Marc Singer's physique. I mean, there's no reason why he's dressed like a barbarian. In fact, there's no reason like Zed. Okay,
well,
the prophecy says the Beastmaster was going to kill him, right?
Yeah.
But then the Beastmaster only wants to kill him because Zed killed his father. So wait a minute, Zed, if you just left him alone, maybe he doesn't bother you ever. It's like,
exactly. You went after the wrong guy. But this, of course, this was based off of a novel. And loosely. Instead of, a novel of the same name, and instead of doing it in a time probably where Marc Singer would have worn a loincloth and it would have made sense, they kind of moved it forward in the timeline to the Bronze Age. This is supposed to take place before that. So we kind of have this Bronze Age, and maybe that's why you get the loincloth. Maybe. It could just be costume design, who knows?
Well, I guess, Tanya Roberts hardly wears anything throughout the film either. So I guess it's just to give people something to look at.
The director wanted a young Demi Moore, but they didn't like her voice. Mm-hmm. So for some reason they said that, don't like her voice. I'm like, well, I don't think that's a legitimate critique, but okay.
Right.
She would have been just fine. Of course we get the Charlie's Angels. She's from Charlie's Angels. She was from, she was a Bond girl. And
she was a Bond. This got her to the Bond girl. She was a Bond girl after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marc Singer, of course, went on to do V and became really popular for V, and was popular in that series, and even returned for the remake of that series. Mm-hmm. But that's really what I think what Marc Singer is really, really known for, other than this movie.
Yeah,
that's was really good for its time. I think it's one of those fantasy films that's kind of like Never Ending Story. It's a product of its time. And it's one of those things, if you saw it as a kid, you're just like, man, this is a badass movie. And then you're like, well, I was like, maybe it's lost a little bit whenever it's aged. You're like, okay, that's kind of weird. I noticed the same thing when I watched Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Because as a kid, I'd watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'm like, this is badass. There's flaming arrows, sword fights. Exactly. I'm like, man, this movie is a little choppy, but you know what? Entertaining nonetheless. Both.
That's kind of how I feel about the Beastmaster. It's like it's for the time it came out, it's super exciting. It maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes up for it in the spectacle of it and the action of it. The good thing about it is a lot of the actors really believe in what they're doing. They give it their all in the movie, and they do well. Marc Singer does well. Tanya Roberts, John Amos, they all do well. There's a lot of little subplots thrown in there because they try to make it maybe a little overly complicated to give it more to the plot. But it somehow all comes together into a nice little action piece. There's some really actually good practical effects in this. The Birdmen are really freaky. The way they dissolve people. Remember that used to give me nightmares when I was a kid. And the movie did okay at the box office. It did make its money back, but it didn't do super well. But it found a home on home video and being aired on TBS and HBO a lot, to the point that people referred to TBS as the Beastmaster station, TBS, and they referred to HBO as like, hey, Beastmaster's on for HBO.
Oh, nice.
I remember, that's how I remember this movie. It was always on TV. It was one of those 80s flicks that you would stop and watch when it was on because, again, it is highly entertaining in so many ways. And why it's – I sometimes think about why do we give movies like this a pass for not being as good? And I think it's our expectations were different then. And these things played to our fantasies and our entertainment value, where we expect a little bit more now out of modern cinema. Like movies like this probably would not find a cult status or do well. You get the occasional cult film that still finds its way, but not like you did in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s. There's tons of these cult films that found a way because audiences' expectations were different than they are now. And this movie went on to spawn a couple of sequels that both kind of ended up direct to video. And then it ended up with a television series that ran 5 years. I mean, so, this movie did something right as far as cult status. I mean, I think The Beastmaster is definitely the definition of a cult classic film in a lot of ways. And rewatching it this week, I just think, like I said, I forgot how weird the beginning was. That made no sense. I forgot how many pairs of boobs were in this movie. I forgot about the extended – I swear watching on TV – I don't remember the epilogue. I couldn't find any information if this was true, but the fight where they go to defend the castle at the end after they have already killed Zed, I don't remember it being that long. I swear it was probably edited for TV. Like I remember Beastmaster Dar coming down and the big guy with the mask comes out and they fight and the Birdmen come in and sweep them all up and that's it. I remember it being a lot shorter than the theatrical version, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. They might have edited it for TV back then, because I don't remember like after they kill Zed having this long, it's almost 20 more minutes, just this fight against this horde. That, like, I don't remember where the horde came from. I guess they appeared earlier in the movie, and I kind of forgot about them.
And then he throws a flaming soldier into the moat, and the moat just catches on fire. Like right? Michael Bay came in for a scene and was like, let's have the moat just explode. And like, did someone throw gasoline into the moat? Did I miss something? That fight was kind of ridiculous, but hey,
And one critic even described that movie like this. He says, well, it takes a while to get your attention. Then once it gets your attention, it keeps it for a while. But by the time you remember why it kept your attention, you forgot why it kept your attention. But then by the time you're done, the movie's over, and you're like, oh, why just watch the whole thing? So the critic basically said, so it did something right if it keeps your attention for 2 hours, even if you're not sure what the fuck is going on by the end of the movie. You're just like,
you've been watching this long. It did something right.
And then I laughed when I was watching, because I finished it yesterday, is the end scene where he's kissing Tanya Roberts' character, and then all of a sudden it turns this wide helicopter shot. It's a completely different rock than what they were standing on just a few minutes ago. I was like, oh, where did that rock come from? Mikey was in the room with me. He was laughing when John Amos's character, who has the boy who's supposed to be the heir to that castle or whatever, and all of a sudden the boy just strips off his shirt, and Michael's like, why is he all of a sudden in a loincloth? I'm like, I don't know. It's a fantasy movie. He just decided to strip off, and the kid's in a loincloth too.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I don't want to be king. I just want to go over with. I just want to hang out with Tanya Roberts, and leaves it to the kid.
And then when they show up to fight Zed, and he's on like this sacrificial fire tower, like there's no real explanation for that. Like I was trying to figure out, like, rewatching, like, why is he trying to kill her? Like, is he because his whole point is he wants to kill Dar, but yet he's trying to kill her in this sort of sacrificial tower. Then I'm thinking, why did he build it like this with like 500 feet of stairs? It makes no sense. It's like, I'm an evil witch lord. I'm just going to build this giant stairs up high with fire in it. And maybe it looks cool.
Conan the Barbarian came out before this, huh?
Maybe around the same time.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe around, because I know Conan the Barbarian, the ending kind of scene had a lot of stairs, a lot of high stairs. I wonder if that was a thing. You know, they're like, oh, we've got to have stairs too.
Conan was 82 also. What month did it come out? So this came out after. Conan was May of 82. This came out a few months later. And that was one reason this movie was originally a Christmas release of 82, but they moved it up to August, trying to catch on to some of the popularity of Conan. And they also felt it backfired on them because maybe people were a little tired of the Sword and Sorcery epic. I wonder if Dragon Slayer came out that same year too, because that feels like it was around that time.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, probably did, man. Dragon Slayer was early 80s.
Man, have you ever watched Dragon Slayer?
It's been a while. It's been like 15
It's a slow burn film, but if you really, Dragon Slayer was 81, so the year before. Dragon Slayer is a slow burn, but it's still honestly one of the better dragon films ever made. I mean, it really, if you can get past the first 30, 40 minutes of it and really get into the story, it's actually a really good movie. And some of the best practical dragon effects you'll ever see, especially from 1981. It's worth the watch if you haven't watched it in a while. But you know, this genre was very popular in the 80s. You had a lot of movies like this. You had the animated Fire and Ice film from Ralph Bakshi, which is kind of the same genre. And I actually like that movie. I think Fire and Ice is pretty cool. Of course, Conan came out, the Beastmaster. I feel like there's probably more in this genre that I'm forgetting about. But you know, it's strange though. I think Conan is remembered because Arnold played it, but the Beastmaster is remembered because so many people watched it on TV. They remember seeing it, you know, on Saturday afternoons. They remember catching on video. And I think that's why it's remained a cult classic all these years, just because our generation that watched it grew up watching. When was first? Had you seen it before this week?
The movie, no, I haven't. I saw the TV series.
So you had probably seen bits and pieces of the movie over time, probably through trailers and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was a first watch for you. But it held up okay for you, even being almost 40 years old. I mean,
I felt like it held out okay. I mean, obviously, you know what time it came out and everything, and man, it felt like a Conan clone whenever I saw Marc Singer swinging that sword around. And I'm like, man, this reminds me of Conan a little bit. You know, you got the hero. He decides he's going to go on his journey. And then, you know, he before he heads out, he has this big, you know, sword scene where he shows his skills with a sword. And Singer's just like swirling it around. And I'm like, man, dude, watch out, dude. You're going to lop off one of your arms, man.
Yeah, there is just some sort of random sword scenes, and you're like, "What is it? What? Why is he swinging the sword?" Yeah. I guess just so he can look cool. And then I wanted the Birdmen. That is what gets me the most of this movie. It's like they're kind of cool. You kind of want to see more of them, but they're really freaky. There's some really freaky stuff in this movie, like the Birdmen, the way they witches turn the warriors into like these mindless barbarians, and their growls are really creepy. However, they did a special effect when their hands are reaching out from the thing, they're trying to get by. It's all really bizarre and scary. The hot witches, like you see them from behind, you're like, whoa, hot chicks, and you see their face, you're like, oh, that's a boner killer.
Yeah.
Like Rip Torn's character Zed, it plays it way over the top and just bizarre. So there's so much weirdness in this movie. I feel like some of these early 80 movies are coming out of the 70s acid trip era type films, for some of these writers and cinematographers and producers were still doing a lot of acid and just made these really bizarre fucking films sometimes. Because that was my thing. I'm watching this. I'm like, I'm asking myself, why does this? Can't you just explain this? Yeah, you just kind of go with it. You're like, whatever. Has enough coolness to make up for it. I believe is the best way to see. But I think it's a cool concept too. Like I feel sometimes I watch these old movies and I think, how would they play today? Like, could you remake the Beastmaster? Would audiences go see it? Of course, modern Hollywood will only cast somebody like The Rock in the role, or Jason Momoa, just like they've already done with Conan and Hercules remakes and stuff.
Yeah.
The sword and sorcery genre is I think is a pretty cool genre, and I think it has the ability to make a comeback. I think we've seen that, especially with the popularity of shows like Game of Thrones and things like that, where this kind of fantasy genre in Lord of the Rings currently there's still a market for it if it's done right and done and well written. Because I think the Beastmaster is kind of a cool concept. You kind of have to suspend your belief for a lot of it because there's no explanation for anything in this movie. Like, there's not even an explanation of why he's even the Beastmaster. They're just sort of like, he's going to be born, we must kill him. Like, okay, but why is he a Beastmaster?
Yeah, there is no explanation on it.
And then
it kind of happens.
I didn't even talk about his weird talking to the birds. He just starts. Some of it's the edit. Like, the camera will just all of a sudden edit to his face. He's over there going, quah, 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 like talking to the eagles. And it's just like, it's really weird. It's almost like the editor was like, oh, we have to edit his mouth going, so he's talking to the eagles. It's a little strange.
What's funny about the eagle? They couldn't get it to fly.
Yeah.
So what they had to fly it up in a hot air balloon and then drop it so that he would just glide. The stuff that happened with the animals, I thought was the most entertaining thing that I came to find out.
Yeah.
Like the bear got away from all the trainers and started running around and chasing people. And then they finally got a hold of it and were like, all right, little kid doing, the Beastmaster part. Now you can do your scene.
Right.
Yeah. Like fucking ran everywhere.
They used almost 200 ferrets.
Yeah.
Like, where do they find 200 ferrets?
They couldn't train them, so they had to bait them for every scene.
Yeah.
So that's the only way they could get them to do it.
And you could see it in the movie. Some of them are fatter than other ones. Like the ferret's weight keeps changing. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when he pulls that one out of the quicksand.
Yeah.
I'm like, that one's way smaller than the one that just fell in there. And then the lion, he was originally supposed to be a Black Panther, but they said, the trainers were like, no, panthers are real skittish, they're hard to train. Use a tiger, and they're like, oh, well, can we paint it black? And they're like, yeah, sure. And you can still see it, the paint rubs off, and
you can see some white and orange in there.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny.
But overall, though, man, I think this movie's pretty entertaining. I enjoy watching it, and I think the nostalgic in me maybe gives it a B+, but I'm willing to accept that it's more like a B- type movie.
I was going to give it a B. Yeah, solid B.
You have to put yourself in that time frame when it came out, and just sit back and enjoy it for what it is. Because it's not terrible. But it's not great either. It's kind of in between. It is the Beastmaster.
It is the Beastmaster.
It's not a movie you go in expecting any sort of Oscar-winning performances.
No, sure. It's definitely not one of those.
Just swords, weird witches, and titties. I guess that's the way to describe this movie.
That's it. That's all you need to know. Right.
Well, enough said about the Beastmaster. And one more thing. Don't watch the sequels. Like the second one is Portal Through Time. He like goes through time. I remember it just being really bad when I was a kid.
Uncle Phil's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second one is at least watchable. The third one is pretty much just total shit. Don't even watch the third one. I don't even think Marc Singer came back for the third one, did he? Or it's a real break? Because I think the third one's like his son or something. I think maybe he's in it real briefly, maybe. But yeah,
I think that's the one. Yeah, he's just in it for a short time. I read.
But yeah. All right. Well, before we get some news, it's that time of the month where we do this month in pop culture history. A little sub feature today, and as we look back at pop culture in the month of September, what you got, Matt?
Yeah, so some TV stuff in this month. 1962, ABC's first color TV series, The Jetsons by Hanna-Barbera, first broadcast. I remember seeing this rerun on TVs in my daycare, and of course, when I'd go visit my grandma, it would be on reruns. And
I didn't even know that was Hanna-Barbera's first color cartoon. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Crazy. I was like, it makes sense, though.
Definitely a classic, man. It feels like the Jetsons are ripe for a modern retelling, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you could do it. We've got some birthdays this month. Phil Rizzuto, which, I know, Mark, you like baseball. The Rizzuto, who passed away in 2007, would have had a birthday this month. Christopher Reeve had a birthday this month. Barbara Walters, Michael Douglas, Will Smith, and Catherine Zeta-Jones and Paul Walker all have birthdays in September. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Christopher Reeve, man, just going too soon,
here, man.
Yeah, he definitely made me believe in Superman as a kid, and always did.
You mentioned Halloween, our Halloween Horrors Month earlier in the, so we've got 1960, we've got a national release of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, starring Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh. Of course, one of the classic horror icons, and I know it probably scared a lot of our parents whenever they went to go see it.
Yeah, our other co-host Long, he's a big Hitchcock fan. I'm not super familiar with a lot of his stuff, and I'm kind of like I watch that stuff now, and it's just like people thought this was scary. That's kind of how I view it.
He's dressing as his mom, and then
I'm just kind of like, I watch it and I find it kind of like cheesy, But I guess audiences in the 50s and 60s, it was different then. They had the Red Scare and different things, the nuclear scare and things like that they didn't know what to expect from the world. So I guess they were easily more frightened at the movie theaters. Things felt more real to them than they do now with, now everything's at our fingertips. So I can see how audiences bought into it back then,
Definitely.
And I can still appreciate what Alfred Hitchcock did as his work and all that for sure. I just don't buy into the scariest of it,
I think Anthony Perkins just looks creepy. He sells it pretty good.
Yeah.
And then turns out he's got his mother buried in the basement, and she's like a skeleton. And it's weird. Some weird shit. But of course, we mentioned birthdays earlier. There's also deaths that happen in the month of September, and I stuck with the most notable one for me, and that's Burgess Meredith. He passed away, of course, in '97, and rip to a great icon.
Yep.
Batman. Rocky,
the Penguin,
Mickey. Yeah, Mickey.
I mean, just one of the greats, man. I mean, iconic voice and the way he sounded. It's funny, as much as I'm a huge Batman fan. Anybody that's ever listened to the show knows that, and it's like whenever I see these other incarnations of the Penguin, like whether it's Danny DeVito or recently Colin Farrell, and I appreciate what they did, but I'm always wanting to hear his voice,
Burgess
Meredith's voice as a Penguin, because it's so iconic that what he brought to that role. And I love that show, man. I have the whole series on my digital video account, and I still watch episodes now and then, and it's just classic.
Even the bad movies, Rocky V, that is the one scene in the movie where he's remembering what Burgess Meredith, what Mick told him in the ring, and he's is talking about death, and he says nature's smarter than people think. He's like, I think we die a little bit every day because we keep losing, and eventually we say, enough losing. I've had it. He's like, but you know what? He's like, Rock, you give me a reason to live. He's like, and he's like, I'm going to take care of you. He's like, and not only am I going to take care of you, I'm going to make sure you can handle yourself outside of the ring. Well, and I was like, man, that's a touching moment. It's the one bright spot in that movie. You got to go through a lot to get to it, but it's the one bright spot in that movie. So right. Definitely a great actor. 1964, of course, a film that we've covered here before, Fistful of Dollars, premieres, directed by Sergio Leone. And that's what started the spaghetti Western drama genre. So, yeah.
It started, but it brought it to America in the forefront. Because I'm sure there were some movies before that band, but still one of my favorite Western trilogies of all time. Man, such good movies. I mean, I really like the Western genre a lot. And nowadays in Hollywood, we maybe get one or two Westerns a year, but man, those movies are just so good. So well shot, so well acted, good stories. It's iconic, man. It made Clint Eastwood the star he is today, really.
And two more things. 1969, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Premieres. Hanna-Barbera debuts on CBS in the U.S. And of course, we're still got kids watching it today.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo's definitely still. My daughter likes Scooby-Doo. I mean, I enjoyed that Scoob movie that came out last year. It's sad to hear that the sequel got shelved by Warner Brothers. That's a shame. But just iconic characters. I am looking forward to the adult animated version that I get. I haven't heard anything. I guess they're still doing that for HBO Max. I haven't heard anything about that being canceled. So I'm curious, I want, maybe Velma and Daphne will get it on in that version. Who knows?
Hey, you never know, man. There's so much freaking Velma only fans out there,
Wait, how do you know that?
I just see stuff, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure, we're plugged in. Stuff comes across your screen.
All right. Whatever, man. I mean, let's see your subscriptions, sir.
Yeah. And to go into the final one. I mean, this was obviously appropriate. 1937, J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit is published by George Allen and Unwin in London.
That just means that book's fucking old.
It is old, man. 1937, dude.
I haven't heard anything the last couple of weeks about Tolkien fans complaining anymore about the show, so maybe they calmed down. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. The book was published almost 100 years ago. There weren't the Lord of the Rings books like a few years after that, so they were their 40s, right? Remember right? So yeah, I mean, shit's move on, people. It's okay to tell new stories,
man. Yeah, at least you're getting new content.
Exactly. That's how I view it, man. I thought. We talked about this before. We thought after 2005 there was going to be no more Star Wars. So we're getting lots more Star Wars. I mean, we never thought that we would have these Marvel cinematic movies that we're having or these DC films that we're having. So I'm just enjoying it and taking it all in and trying not to be too harsh on some of it. Yeah. And some of it, I mean, if I don't want to watch it, I'm just not going to watch it. Like She-Hulk just didn't catch me. I'm probably not going to bother watching any more of it. Just seemed stupid to me. And then sometimes, I want to watch it, that's just, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Black Adam, and Black Panther. So, excuse me. So I'll take whatever content I get from those things. So more Lord of the Rings is cool with me. All right, well, there's not a whole lot of news. I mean, really, it was a really weak week. So there's not much to talk about. I keep forgetting that this movie is coming out. Illumination, owned by Universal, who makes the Despicable Me films. I keep forgetting they're making a Super Mario Brothers movie with Chris Pratt as voice of Mario.
Oh, shit.
And the movie comes out in April, and the first trailer is going to premiere on October 6th at the New York Comic Con. So, so you will get our first trailer here in just about a week and a half. Our first look at the Super Mario Brothers movie from Illumination Animation. The Despicable Me films are fun. That studio, Nintendo's very very careful with how they license their characters. So I think they would not have done this if they didn't have faith in this company making a good Mario movie. So I have to admit the old school video game fan of me for years and years kind of excited about this, and hopefully it comes out good, So.
And it's like, man, I haven't seen it's got to be better than the John Leguizamo movie,
right? Yeah, that's not hard to do. A couple of trailers to talk about. You may have not seen this trailer, Matt, but because it's going to be on Showtime. I really wish that this was not on Showtime because I don't want another streaming service. But Showtime is making a Let the Right One In television series.
Neat.
And it looks like it's closer to the book stuff. I'm a big fan of that film. I even like the Matt Reeves remake. If you've never seen it, we covered the movie a couple years ago on the show. It's a Swedish vampire film. Usually it's on Netflix or Hulu. You can probably find it to watch on one of your streaming services. And one of the best vampire films you'll ever watch. Just a great movie. And it's based on a book of the same name. And so Showtime is doing a series based on it. And the trailer looked interesting. So check that out if you want. And another trailer, we got our first look at Hulu's Hellraiser this week. People I can't help but feel like it felt like a Kmart version of Hellraiser. That's just my thought. It just felt like it looked kind of cheap, to me. I did watch the trailer on my phone admittedly, but it just felt like the acting felt flat even in the trailer. The Cenobites just looked like I don't know. They look like they were thrown together whatever they could find in the prop departments. I don't know. It felt really just kind of cheap looking to me. And this movie hasn't been in production real long. So it makes you wonder sometimes whenever they kind of rush this stuff. So I wouldn't have high hopes if you're a Hellraiser fan. I just think it's going to be kind of like, So.
Yeah, we haven't had a really good Hellraiser movie in a while.
Have any of them been really good though, Matt?
I like the first two.
They're okay.
I like the first two, and then after that, they kind of just drop off.
Yeah.
The third one's kind of and then after that,
my biggest thing that I find too is any of this stuff. Now, sometimes it works. Like Prey, it spoke for itself. It was a good film, but my biggest thing I find when they do these reboots or reimaginings or whatever you want to call them is they don't get any kind of name actors, and that causes a problem because people that are into the genres will still watch them, but mainstream audiences who's people all the time you hear mainstream, who's in the film? If it's not somebody they know, they're not going to watch it. Now sometimes, like I said, like with Prey, word of mouth works and people hear about it and they end up watching it. But then sometimes if it's word of mouth doesn't work. And if you don't have a big name actor in it, and that tends to be the problem with some of these things. And it's like, it just felt like Hulu could have gotten some money and gotten someone, known to be in the movie or something. So we'll see, but I think it comes out October 7th. So it's just a couple weeks away on Hulu, the new Hellraiser. So that's all the news I have, really. Like I said, it was kind of only other bit of news is if you're interested, Avatar is playing in theaters this weekend for a re-release. And apparently there's a new trailer or first look type deal for Avatar, The Way of the Water. But I would also expect that to probably show up online here in the next week or two because I would imagine we're probably getting a new Avatar trailer pretty soon. I'm wondering if Disney is going to make us wait all the way till Black Panther comes out. It's possible. It just feels like that movie's due for a full trailer soon instead of just a teaser. Start the hype train for Avatar, The Way of Water. All right. Well, next week's show, if it happens, depending on my life situation, the planned movie right now is a movie from just not that long ago, about 10 years ago. A movie I enjoyed quite a bit. I really like this movie. It's from Guillermo del Toro. And if we don't have an episode next week, we will still cover this movie. We'll just back it up to After Halloween Horrors. And that is Pacific Rim.
We always thought alien life would come from the stars. But it came from deep beneath the Pacific.
What the hell is going on?
The first kaiju made land in San Francisco. The second attack hit Manila. Then the third one hit Cabo. And then we learned this was not going to stop. In order to fight monsters, we created monsters of our own. We needed a new weapon. The Jaeger program was born. Two pilots, our minds, our memories, connected. And man and machine become one.
Today, at the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we've chosen to believe in each other. Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
It is pretty cool.
Pacific Rim.
What a hell of a fun movie. You know, that's just the best way
to describe a fun movie.
Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim. He basically, this movie has always felt to me like we know Del Toro's made Pan's Labyrinth and the Hellboy films and made some really good genre films, but Pacific Rim always felt to me like his toy box film. If Guillermo could go make whatever fucking movie he wanted to make, this is the movie he's going to make. I want to make a movie about robots fighting monsters. And that's how I feel about Pacific Rim. It's his sandbox film of what he wanted to do. And it's a hell of a fun movie. And again, if we don't do it next week, we'll do it here in about a month. We'll get this movie covered for sure. But right now, the plan is next week is to talk Pacific Rim. And but stay tuned to our social media channels for updates on the latest episodes. And but that's all we've got this week. The rebelradiopodcast.com is your place for all your Rebel Radio needs. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. Facebook. We have a Facebook group on there, which I update more than the Facebook page. And so you can interact and talk and do all that good stuff with us. But until then, man, just continue to stay safe. Thank you as always for listening. We do appreciate it. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
And until next time, remember as always, just go there and do it.
Go there and do it.